One hadith recounts that when Moses is delivering an impressive sermon, an Israelite inquires if there were anyone more knowledgeable than him. When Moses denies any such person exists, he receives a revelation from God, which admonishes Moses for not attributing absolute knowledge to God and informs Moses that there is someone named Al-Khidr who is more knowledgeable than him. Upon inquiry, God informs Moses that Al-Khidr will be found at the junction of two seas. God instructs Moses to take a live fish, and at the location where it would escape, Al-Khidr will be found. 67 afterwards, Moses departs and travels with a boy named Yeshua bin Nun, until they stop near a rock where Moses rests. While Moses is asleep, the fish escapes from the basket. When Moses wakes up, they continue until they stop to eat. At that moment, Yeshua remembers that the fish had slipped from the basket at the rock. He informs Moses about the fish, and Moses remembers God's statement. So they retrace their steps back to the rock. There they see Al-Khidr. Moses approaches Al-Khidr and greets him. Al-Khidr instead asks Moses how people are greeted in their land. Moses introduces himself, and Al-Khidr identifies him as the prophet of the Israelites. According to Quran, Moses asks Al-Khidr, "May I follow you, provided that you teach me some of the right guidance you have been taught?" Al-Khidr warns that he would not be able to remain patient and consents on the condition that Moses would not question his actions. 67. They walk on the seashore and pass by a ship. The crew of the ship recognize Al-Khidr and offer them to board their ship free of charge. When they are on the boat, Al-Khidr takes an adze and pulls up a plank. When Moses notices what Al-Khidr is doing, he is astonished and stops him. Moses reminds Al-Khidr that the crew has taken him aboard for free. Al-Khidr admonishes Moses for forgetting his promise of not asking. Moses states that he has forgotten and asks to be forgiven. When they leave the seashore, they pass by a boy playing with others. Al-Khidr takes hold of the boy's head and kills him. Moses is again astonished by this action and questions Al-Khidr regarding what he had done. Al-Khidr admonishes Moses again for not keeping his promise, and Moses apologizes and asks Al-Khidr to leave him if he again questions Al-Khidr. Both of them travel on until they happen upon a village. They ask the villagers for food, but the inhabitants refuse to entertain them as guests. They see therein a wall which is about to collapse, and Al-Khidr repairs the wall. Moses asks Al-Khidr why he had repaired the wall, when the inhabitants refuse to entertain them as guests and give them food. Moses states that Al-Khidr could have taken wages for his work. Al-Khidr informs Moses that they are now to part ways as Moses has broken his promise. Al-Khidr then explains each of his actions. He informs Moses that he had broken the ship with the adze because a ruler who reigns in those parts took all functional ships by force. Al-Khidr has created a defect in order to prevent their ship from being seized. Al-Khidr then explains that he has killed a child because he was defiant and disobedient to his parents, and Al-Khidr fears that the child would overburden them with his misconduct, and explained that God would replace it with a better child who is more obedient and has more affection. Al-Khidr then explains that he has fixed a wall because it belongs to two helpless orphans whose father was a pious man. God wishes to reward them for their piety. Al-Khidr states that there is a treasure hidden underneath the wall, and by repairing it, it would not break until the orphans are of age to be able to reclaim it.